Or download, that works too.
All right, let's move along to our second presenter of the day, Xavier.
Quote, I want it reported that I drowned in moonlight, strangled by my own bra. End quote. That's how Carrie Fisher imagined her obituary would read, according to her 2009 memoir, published by Simon & Schuster Paperbacks, Wishful Drinking. This quip, sparked by George Lucas claiming there's no underwear in space, captures her sense of humor perfectly. Witty, biting, and unapologetically Carrie. Carrie Fisher was an actor, writer, mother, daughter, and activist, among many other things, and the way she lived her life makes her undeniably worthy of tribute. I've opted to speak about Carrie Fisher because of what we had in common. She was bipolar, and so am I. The fact that she survived her struggle with bipolar disorder long enough to have died of something other than that diagnosis, and her having a successful career to boot, makes me look up to her in a way I look up to no one else. Today, I will share 4 reasons why Carrie Fisher deserves tribute: her ambition, her resilience, her activism, and her authenticity, all of which she lived out with her signature sense of humor. Let's move on to my first main point. Carrie Fisher was ambitious and ultimately successful. Of course, the primary thing you may know her for is the role she played in Star Wars. Princess Leia, her most prominent role over her performing career spanning 4 decades. What you may not know is she also authored several successful autobiographies, novels, and movies. She also made a name for herself in Hollywood as one of the industry's top script doctors, experts brought in to quietly improve scripts behind the scenes. She was so respected in this role that she was featured in the 2007 documentary Dreams on Spec, according to the Salem Encyclopedia, with no author or date listed. Next, we'll move on to main point number 2. Carrie Fisher was resilient. She struggled with drug addiction, and in the 1980s, she went to rehab and a mental hospital around the time of a near-fatal overdose. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in her mid-20s, and rather than hiding it, she eventually spoke out openly about it in interviews, writing, and stage performances, according to Gira of the Washington Post newspaper in 2017. Now on to main point, the 3rd. Carrie Fisher was an activist. One of her most powerful forms of activism was simply talking, openly and often, about her bipolar disorder and addiction. Through books, interviews, and her one-woman show, Wishful Drinking, she broke stigmas and helped countless people feel less alone. Additionally, Carrie defied the norms of Hollywood by speaking out about her experiences in the industry as a woman, according to the editors of People magazine in 2017. And finally, onto my 4th and final point. Carrie Fisher was authentic. She was brutally honest about the realities of her life before others could twist it into something it wasn't. Honesty was her form of control and defiance. The kind of vulnerability Carrie Fisher shared reminded people that it's okay to not be okay, like how she published excerpts from her old journals from during the filming of Star Wars in The Princess Diarist, showing her heartbreak and self-doubt during her affair with Harrison Ford. One of her most clever and self-aware choices was her urn, a giant Prozac pill. It was one of her prized possessions, and her brother and daughter decided it would be her final resting place. Even in death, she found a way to mix humor with brutal honesty. To conclude, we covered 4 main points about Carrie Fisher and the life she lived: her ambition and success, her resilience, her activism, and her authenticity. Carrie Fisher once said, "Take your broken heart, make it into art." That's exactly what she did through her films, her writing, and her fearless honesty. She taught us that survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about being loud, messy, funny, and real in the face of everything trying to silence you. She was more than a rebel princess. She was a real-life warrior. And for those of us who share some of her battles, she showed that it's not only possible to survive, but to do so with wit, wisdom, and grace. That's why Carrie Fisher will always be tribute-worthy.